When I am president, or my team is going to be a creative team of the most virtuous and talented individuals in this world who come together to build an arcology on sacred land, on our sacred trust land. That's our purpose of this presidency, because these developers who have been colonizing our minds and colonizing the earth for these centuries have got to be stopped, because they are going to kill everyone. They've already massacred the Native Americans. They've reduced their population to thousands rather than millions. And they need to be accountable. The Allotment Act is important because you can see how it forced Native Americans to start living like the white colonialist. They wanted to divide up the communal land and give individual land plots to different families. They wanted them to take on farming and cattle ranching so that they could be industrious like the white man. And this led to the breakup of communal holdings of the tribes. This is how many tribal spaces there are now in the United States. From having tribes all over the continent to these few remaining places is not much. And this is why I do believe that everyone who has a property deed is guilty of the thievery and the genocide that the Native Americans experienced. I'm going to go into some history now of why we live the way we do, and why we have this development pattern that is against nature. So here I go. We're going to start this slideshow with the founding fathers. There were no founding mothers. They were all supporting the men trying in colonizing the United States. And many of the founding fathers were responsible for the genocidal practices that were happening in the American colonies. Thomas Jefferson thought that Indians should just become part of the American power structure. When Lewis and Clark went on their expedition across the continent and eventually came into contact with Native Americans on their journeys, they would greet the Indians and say, "Hey, you're now a part of the American Empire. How would you like to confront explorers that tells you the land that you are standing on is no longer yours?" And this is what colonialists did. There was even the Homestead Act of 1862, in which the government started giving away Native American land. And so more white settlers moved out west. Here we go. This is Tombstone. You can see in the reenactment of this period of colonialization. And here's a woman pointing a gun at me. I'm shooting her with a camera and she's shooting me with a gun, which shows you the two different kinds of women that we're dealing with in this world. Those pioneer women who are still going to protect the land and steal it with whatever means that they can, even if it means building nuclear weapons to protect their territory that they stole from the native people. And their way of life was so much more in harmony with nature. They were living sustainably on the land for thousands of years before this rude and brutal takeover of the continent that they call America. And I want to stress to Native American people, don't go into war. They have been trying to indoctrinate you for years, and it's just part of the genocide. These women that hold up the flag and say, go to Iraq, we need the oil, whatever they're saying, just realize they have forked tongues. They've been having forked tongues, and they're not really women. They're female impersonators. They don't feel the tragedy of what we're up against, and it is up to us to give examples of what the true woman is in order to convert them to being human beings again. It's this empire that we're having to deal with, and it's up to women now to say no to the empire, to not seek those forms of power, and to radically change the way that we develop land.